Hi everyone, my name is Alex Clancy. I'm the Digital Enablement Manager for FieldView based in Wagga Wagga and covering Eastern Broadacre. Today I'm joined with Julia Payne, who is my counterpart based over in Perth, covering the Western and South Australian Broadacre teams down there. Today we thought it might be a good idea to give everyone a bit of an introduction into FieldView, and in particular an introduction to FieldView at seeding. Everything from your planting or seeding, spraying, spreading, and harvest, collected in real time, no matter your equipment color, brought into a single place and accessible and analyzable from anywhere, whether that might be the cab, whether it might be the ute, or it might be the office. Thought it might be a good idea to kind of pinpoint out how some of our growers are currently using FieldView at seeding, and one of the big ones for them, there's a lot of things going on at seeding, so being able to see progress at any time from anywhere. So FieldView has a remote view functionality, meaning that someone sitting in the ute, someone sitting at the office or at the shed is able to basically log in and directly see what's going on in that cab, what rates are going out, how fast someone's going, whereabouts they're up to in the field in real time. The other good thing about it too means that that same functionality and our functionality in terms of using a cloud means that sprayers and seeders will have visibility onto the progress that they've made in a field. And so particularly in times when it's, say, at night time, where it's hard to see where the sprayers got up to, the seeder's able to see that fairly quickly and basically able to make sure that they're not passing where they need to be up to. The other thing we're seeing a lot more and more of these days is variable rate seeding and fertilizers going out at seeding. So FieldView, being that it's a great visualization tool in the cab, is giving you that ability to both see what those as applied in real time rates are, and being able to adjust them accordingly if you need to as well. There's other data that also FieldView is bringing in that moment as well. So in particular, logging our inputs, so logging exactly how much seed has gone out, exactly how much fert, knowing where that seed and fert has gone, but equally things like the weather when we started an application or when we finished it, and things like machine metrics like our fuel usage or our speed that we might be going in the field too. Like I said before, giving our partners access to seeding progress and metrics can be pretty critical. It avoids a lot of toing and froing of driving out into the field, seeing exactly where someone's up to, doing radio checks and all that sort of thing. As long as our partners are connected to our operation in FieldView, they're basically going to be able to get a lot of that insight remotely from wherever they might be, being able to flag things remotely, but equally being able to collaborate through the season as well. We also find that seeding, in particular mapping seeding with FieldView, is really a great start to the year in sort of the journey of using FieldView through the season. So getting our seeding rates all logged, our fertilizer rates all logged, exactly knowing where each variety's been planted, each crop's been planted, has been planted, means that anyone going into that field doing a spreading, a spraying, and even when they come through with the header, basically all that information is logged from the get-go, from the start of the season. So one of the difficult things with farm platforms at the moment is all the different data sets that we get from all of our different colored machines. So I thought this might be a good chance to kind of explain that while FieldView is a great tool as it stands, its real strength is our mixed fleet compatibility. So we try and tackle this in 3 different ways. So one we call connected cabs. So that's using our FieldView drive, which I'll go through in a second. And that basically is a universal dongle or puck, as some people call it, that plugs into all of our modern machinery or our screens in the cab, and is basically able to pull all of that important farm activity data as we're going through the field. So our coverage maps with all of that, with the relevant either rate or yield that might be going through that particular setup at the time. The other thing we've got is your more traditional data upload. So we have a data inbox that's able to take a variety of different proprietary data formats from all of our different OEM farm machinery companies, basically able to interpret that and get it into account if by chance we missed it with our live mapping with the drive, or we might have had a contractor come in and help us finalize a job for the year. It's also where we can add some extra data sets in as well, like any of our prescription files that we might have got from our advisors, soil maps, if we've got any, say, EM38 surveys that we want to get in there and bring in and look in conjunction with any of our activity maps. And we're also working on our protein intake as well for those that are mapping protein percent at the end of the year. The other one which we're continuously working on and have had some updates in the last few months is our API partnership. So this is another way of getting data into FieldView, but equally out of FieldView. So working with our main OEMs in John Deere and Class on, we've got that bilateral or two-way API with them, allowing data to come in from Op Center and Class Connect and equally push back out into those platforms as well, but also with our sort of complementary platforms that are out there as well, like PCT and Conservice, where we might be wanting to bring in our farm activity data with a lot of our planning and reporting data that we might have in those, or analysis data that we might have in those platforms as well. Drive is a small little 9-pin diagnostic plug, fairly simple bit of kit, but quite powerful. So basically, many of you might have seen, a bit like how a mechanic connects a computer into your car. All of our modern tractors have that same port. It looks slightly different to what it does in a car, but we can pull a lot of really important information from those ports, all of the ISO bus messaging that is traveling throughout our machine setup. And FieldView Drive does exactly that. So it doesn't push anything out. It's just intercepting those messages. And then, so things like our rate, our yield, any of the GPS string, if it's coming through there, and our machine and implement metrics. If we can't get it from the port, we do use things like harnesses, and harnesses basically allow us to connect to the various things that might be going on in a cab, whether we got one screen doing GPS, another doing yield or rate. Harnesses allow us to basically tap into where that information is already traveling and pull it into a single place and pull it into that FieldView Drive. And once it's there, what it's doing is just a simple connection via Bluetooth to the iPad in the cab, and it's sending that data straight through to the iPad. And the iPad is acting as your storage in the cab, but equally iPads nowadays, as we all know, have internet connectivity, whether they're Wi-Fi only or cellular. And when that's happening, they're able to push all of that data up in little packets. And that's what gives us the ability to basically access that data from anywhere. I might now hand over to Julia, who is going to just run through a few of the bit of information about linking to another FieldView account and how FieldView sort of compares across the different platforms as well.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I just wanted to touch on FieldView does have the ability to share from a grower's account to an advisor account, and just a few examples of some growers that I've worked with that have done this and why they are sharing their account to their agronomist, for example. They are wanting to give better visibility just on what's been completed so far, what the progress is through the season. If it's seeding, for example, like how far are they through? Did they run out of a certain seed and they've actually swapped and they've changed variety? If they're doing any sort of trials with their agronomist, being able to actually see where those trials went, and the FieldView Drive is mapping that through the season. So plenty of value in sharing the account to an agronomist, and you can choose to share whole operation, or you can choose to share individual fields, for example, and then you can turn that sharing off at any stage. But the agronomist can sit on a free FieldView account and have all of the information that's come from that grower's account shared to them, including all of the satellite imagery. So that's a really great opportunity there for growers and agronomists to share accounts. We get questions a lot of the time on where does FieldView fit with all of the other platforms and programs that are out there. So we've put a few of the top ones up that we get the most amount of questions about. PCT, for example, I guess the differences that we see is FieldView is more of the instant visualization from that data that's being collected in the cab, whereas PCT is more providing that really deep analysis and recommendations, usually from the agronomist side, and then sharing that back to the grower. John Deere Ops, quite similar to the case in New Holland Field Ops, but John Deere specifically has a two-way API with FieldView where data can flow both ways. We see this FieldView working in this scenario, collecting data from a non-JD fleet or a John Deere without a modem that's not sending data to the cloud. If they run mostly a John Deere fleet and they might have contractors that come in, that might be a case machine or something like that, the FieldView Drive can collect that data and send it back to John Deere. And running both of these systems provides additional value because John Deere is really good on the machine metrics side of things, telematics. FieldView provides some more agronomic insights there. Similarly with Case and New Holland Field Ops, which is a relatively new program, there is a new API. Currently, data flows from FieldView to Field Ops with the goal that would be a two-way flow of data in the future. Same thing, FieldView is able to collect data from non-C&H machines. So the example that we had before, if you're running a TopCon screen, for example, in there, FieldView is able to pick up that data and could send to Field Ops if you were looking to have data in both platforms. Equally, if you're running a C&H machine that doesn't have a modem or you've got contractor machines and you want that data together, FieldView Drive can plug in there and be useful and provide additional agronomic insights rather than just the machinery side of things. AgWorld is a big topic of discussion too. A lot of agronomists are using this and sharing the recommendations to growers. So we really see FieldView's focus on the real-time collection and insights that data is able to provide, whereas AgWorld focuses on the planning and reporting and creating those recos, the recommendations from the ag grow. So FieldView is designed to capture the actual as-applied layers, so anything that was planted, sprayed, like if you're spreading and you're doing different trials or putting different rates out, FieldView's recording all of that, not just record keeping, but it's got a map layer of where that has actually gone out. And we see the planning tools within FieldView complementing AgWorld's recommendations. So being able to look at AgWorld's recommendations and then set up those fields, application tank mixes, crops, and assign those to fields in FieldView to make it easy when the operator heads out into the paddock. And then lastly, just wanted to touch on some trials in FieldView. So there's a few different opportunities, and I've been seeing some growers, particularly in WA, maybe have been using FieldView for a year or so, and they're deciding to do a little bit of, dabbling with different products or varieties and things like that. The first option is the FieldView Drive is able to collect or capture where a different product has gone or a different rate has gone out. Or this example in the images, they've actually put a nil rate of an application in there so that they can analyze whether there was a yield response to that. And lining that up with the yield analysis. And Alex touched on it before, but we've got some new analysis features in the FieldView app that's able to analyze deeply what product performed better, what rate performed better, what variety performed better. There's a few other benefits of doing the trials, particularly if you're doing that trial with your agronomist, and like we talked about before, sharing your account with your agronomist or other advisor. And you can use the field health satellite imagery that's coming through the season, drop scouting pins, attach photos, and keep a record of what's happening through the season. And then another option for trials is using the prescription tool. So we do have a prescription tool within FieldView, which is the example that we've got here. And it's quite simple. You can draw your own zones or create automated zones from a satellite image. Other option is if you've created those prescription zones in another program, like PCT, for example, then you could bring that into FieldView and have it as an additional layer in there. So There's plenty of opportunities for trials for growers to capture where they've gone and agronomists to keep an idea or a visual of where that's actually gone and what the results have been.
Thanks, Jules. So I guess the last thing to note is that the support team is here to help you. So if you do have further questions or are looking to get FieldView set up for seeding or for even spreading, spraying or harvest, they're going to be your first port of call. So they're accessible via email or by phone. And that QR code should take you through to the website. And if you have questions or you want to register your interest, there'll be a form there which will allow you to get in touch with us that way as well. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Alex.